So we are up to the 7th paragraph in the first chapter about prayer, the foundations and history of prayer. So we already learned that there's Shacharit and Mincha and Arvit, but now we'll just go to actually how it happens to be in that way. So in addition to the special prayers that our forefathers prayed during times of trouble, for example, Isaac and Rebekah prayed for 20 years for a child, and Abraham prayed for Elimelech for his wives and midwives, maidens, to be able to give birth. They also fixed set times when they prayed to Hashem. Avraham Avinu, Abraham, our forefather, initiated the Shacharit morning prayer. He was the one who originally illuminated the world with his belief, and accordingly set the time of his prayer when the sun starts to rise. So it says twice, Vashkim Avraham B'boker, and the first time was to pray for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the second time was to, actually 3 times. Second time was to kick out Ishmael, and the third time was to take Isaac to the Akedah, to the binding of Isaac on Mount Moriah. Yitzchak Avinu, Isaac, our forefather, founded the Mincha afternoon prayer. Yitzchak had the unique ability to continue in the way of Avraham, of his father. Sometimes it is easier to break away onto a new path rather than carry on in the same one. Yitzchak's strength, and Yitzchak is called Gvura in Kabbalah, and that's his character strength, was that he remained on the path of faith, corresponding to the Mincha prayer, which expresses continuity for the whole day, is sustained by the power of faith. Yaakov Avinu and Jacob, our forefather, formulated the Ma'ariv, the evening prayer, when he got to Beit El, because Yaakov dealt with many hardships and complications, yet from each one of them he emerged stronger. He therefore established the nighttime prayer, since even in the dark, when reality is clouded, it is possible to connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu, thereby revealing the supreme eternal light. And the verse that comes to mind, we say it tonight in Kabbalat Shabbat, Mizmor Shilam Shabbat Torah Zunai. Second verse is La'agid baboker chasdecha ve'emunatcha ba'leilot, to tell your kindness in the morning and the faithfulness at night. So for Abraham, it was very easy to be an ish chesed, a person of giving and helping everybody, acts of loving kindness all the time. And baboker, when it's all clear, there's light. We even say sometimes, I see it as clear as the sun, right? Or like a light bulb shined in my mind, right? So the opposite, Yaakov had to rely on his faith to Hashem, and that's why it says ve'emunatcha ba'leilot, and the belief in Hashem is most expressed at night. And last but not least, in the Shema, right after the third paragraph of the Shema, in the morning we say emet v'yatziv, which means truth and standing truth, and very, very powerful. And at night we say emet ve'emunah. Yes, we know the truth is that Hashem is our God, but we also have to show that faith. And even this morning, Rabbi Herzfeld talked about somebody who goes at night, and the Talmud further explains that the thief does pray before he burglarizes somebody's house. So it's just so powerful how these are established like that. And of course, there is another opinion why we have the 3 prayers, so we'll continue. After the forefathers paved the way with these prayers, there were devout and righteous people who followed in their path and prayed Shacharit, Mincha, and Ma'ariv. As King David says in Psalm 55, "As for me, I call out to the Lord, and God saves me. Evening, morning, and noon, I express my grief and moan aloud, and he hears my voice." So Hashem, already in the time of Ishmael, said that he heard the boy, and so obviously we already talked about how Hashem does listen to all of our prayers, no matter how selfish they are, but he doesn't always answer the way that we expect. So, following in the custom of our forefathers, on Sheikhness, the people of the Great Assembly established the 3 prayers, Shacharit and Mincha, as obligatory and Ma'ariv as optional. They were set up to correspond to the communal offerings, since the prayers came to express the inner significance of the sacrifices. Since the prayers were established to correspond to the sacrifices, the times of the prayers were set according to the times of the offerings, as explained further. But I'll just tell you that there's the Tamid Shel Shachar, the eternal sheep that was brought every morning, and Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, and the eternal sacrifice of a sheep, of a burnt offering that was brought in the late afternoon. In fact, the Talmud in Yoma says that that's the last offering that you are allowed to bring. So everything else had to be in the middle. And talking about the middle, the third prayer, Ma'ariv, is when they would burn all the fats and the leftovers on the altar, because sometimes there were so many offerings, mostly personal, because the communal was pretty set, right? Every regular day was Tamid Shel Shachar and Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, but on Shabbat we have the Musaf and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and all those others. But the last offering of the day is Mincha, at the time of Mincha, just as the sun is setting. And so anything that was left over, we couldn't take it out of the temple to eat it. We couldn't take it out of the temple to burn it. And so we would burn it during the night. And there was actually another mitzvah that unfortunately is not applicable for today, which is what's called Trumat Hadeshen, to collect the ashes from the altar. So a Kohen in the morning would wear clean clothing in order to do this Trumat Hadeshen, to remove the ashes. And then he would go out of the camp, which in the days of Jerusalem, obviously it was out of Jerusalem, so Nahal Kidron is where he poured them. And then he would come back, and he would have to, first of all, change to clean clothing, because he's not allowed to do the work without clean clothing, and also dunk in the mikvah in order for him to be able to participate. So last paragraph, because the Tamid sacrifices of the morning and of the afternoon were obligatory, Shacharit and Mincha are obligatory prayers. Ma'ariv was established to represent the burning of the fat and the organs, which were put on the altar at night. If one did not bring them, it did not prevent him from fulfilling the mitzvah of the offering. Therefore, Ma'ariv was also deemed optional. However, as time passed, the nation of Israel took upon itself to recite Ma'ariv as an obligatory prayer. And I think we mentioned earlier that the two exceptions of why Ma'ariv is not compulsory is that if a woman chooses one time of the day to pray, she should not choose the Ma'ariv prayer for that, because it's, like I said, it's optional. And the second idea is that if on Erev Rosh Chodesh someone forgot to say Ya'aleh V'Yavo in the Amida of Ma'ariv, on the evening of Rosh Chodesh, we do not repeat the Shemona Esrei, whereas if they did that in Shacharis or Mincha, they would have to repeat the Shemona Esrei. So, on last sentence, on Shabbat festival and Rosh Chodesh, we were commanded to bring a Musaf sacrifice, which means literally additional. Hence, the Chachamim, our sages, established the recital of the Musaf prayer to represent it. Just wanted to share that, back to the idea of Emunatcha Balelot. When Jacob was first faced with struggles, it was before he went to Haran, before he went to Bethel. And so the question really, and we're in Parshas Vayechi, so I think it's very appropriate. Basically, as hard as his life was, he always believed that the blessing will be there. And in this week's parsha, and I think that's how we'll end today, in this week's parsha, he first blesses Yosef and his sons individually, and that's where we get the format of Yesimcha Elohim K'Ephraim Menashe that we say to our sons every Friday night. And he also blessed all of the brothers just before he died. And according to the Midrash, that's how we got the idea of the Shema. Of course, it had to be written in the Torah, but the first people to say Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad were the sons of Jacob when he asked them in suspicion, is there one of you who isn't on the right path of my father and grandfather? And they all responded, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. So I'm going to stop the recording.